At my high school graduation party, a friend asked me what my type was. My eyes were fixed on a boy with bright red hair and a wild, sunny smile, so I deliberately described the opposite. "Oh, I like guys with straight black hair and rimless glasses. The quiet, thoughtful type. And if he's a doctor, even better." 10 years later, I was at the hospital holding my best friend's chart when I bumped into a man in a white coat. He adjusted his glasses, glanced at the chart in my hand, and asked in a shaky voice, "You're pregnant?" "Huh?" I mumbled a reply, scrambling to pick up the papers from the floor. I just figured he was a kind doctor passing by. The next second, the kind doctor helped me to my feet. "Did you come here alone?" I couldn't help but look up at him. His face was covered by a mask, and his dark, choppy hair hid half of his eyes, making his expression unreadable. I could faintly make out the faded marks of several piercings on his ear. This doctor was surprisingly stylish. "Oh, my friend's right over there." I pointed behind him and then quickly slipped past. My best friend, Maya, was already craning her neck, waiting for me. Her husband had died in a car crash a month ago, leaving her and their unborn child, not even 3 months along. Maya wanted to keep the baby, but her emotional state was fragile. Her doctor recommended regular checkups. "Got the report?" "Let's go find your doctor," I said, taking her hand. But Maya didn't move. A rare smile appeared on her face. That doctor was kind of cute. He kept looking at you. How could she be thinking about my love life at a time like this? I followed her gaze. The doctor was still standing there. As I looked up, our eyes met. The light streaming through the window cast a golden glow around his white coat. For some reason, he looked familiar. By the time I finished Maya's appointment and came back out, the kind doctor was gone. She noticed I seemed a little distracted and teased me about asking someone for his number. "Don't let my kid be born before you've even been on a date." "Being single is fine," I said as I buckled my seatbelt and started the car. Maya leaned back against the seat, so tired her eyelids were drooping. "You know, I always thought you and Vicky would end up together. You said you liked smart guys, so senior year, he stopped hanging out with his usual crew, stopped getting into fights, and basically lived in the teachers' offices. You said you wanted to get into Columbia. When I was collecting the college application forms, I saw Vicky put Columbia as his first choice. At the time, everyone thought he was just messing around. No one took it seriously. And the graduation party, do you remember?" Of course, I remembered. The faces of most people had blurred over time, but Vicky's had only gotten clearer. "Yeah, I remember. Didn't Vicky have that super loud red hair? And he'd just gotten new piercings all over his ear." I added, "He looked pretty hot." Maya was quiet for a moment, then she said, "He was going to ask you out that night." Now it was my turn to be surprised. I pulled the car over and turned to look at her. "What did you just say?" She was fast asleep. Those few words were driving me crazy. What did she mean, he was going to ask you out? Maya was finally getting some peaceful sleep, and I didn't want to wake her. Instead, I dug up the login for an old, long-forgotten account. The high school class group chat was still there, though no one had posted in years. Except for some scammers, who were working in tandem to sell diet tea. I found my old high school desk mate and, not expecting much, sent her an emoji. She replied instantly. "OMG, you finally remembered your password?" We chatted for a few minutes, and before I could even bring him up, she asked about him. "So what's the deal with you and Vicky? That guy is so tight-lipped. Every time I mention your name, he just goes silent." I hadn't heard his name in forever, and now I'd heard it multiple times in one day. Why does everyone think something was going on between me and Vicky? I typed with a laugh. We haven't even seen each other in 10 years. Before I could hit send, she brought up the graduation party. Back then, Vicky told everyone in our class, even our homeroom teacher knew he was going to confess his feelings to you. We were all keeping it a secret for him. We were all so nervous for him. I was the one who was supposed to ask you what your type was. I remembered. When she'd asked me that, the whole room went quiet, and all eyes turned to us. It was a pretty personal question. My face started to feel warm. The truth was, my type had bright red hair and was standing just a few feet away. When you're young, it's hard not to be drawn to a boy as vibrant and intense as Vicky. But when I opened my mouth, I lied. I said, "Oh, I like guys with straight black hair and rimless glasses. The quiet, thoughtful type. And if he's a doctor, even better." That was the polar opposite of Vicky, who wanted to be a race car driver. The whole class fell silent. My friend's message continued. "He probably didn't ask you out because he realized he was nothing like your ideal guy. But still, he's Vicky. I figured no matter how hard it was, he wouldn't give up. I honestly thought you two were already together after all these years." I stared blankly at the words on the screen. A strange, unidentifiable emotion welled up inside me. Maya woke up after a short nap. I walked her upstairs and reminded her to listen to her doctor and get plenty of rest. I told her I'd come by whenever I was free. "Wait," she said, digging through her purse. "I think I left something at the hospital." Maya had lost a lipstick. She'd sometimes put it on to add a little color to her face so her parents wouldn't worry so much. I glanced at my phone. I had some time. "I'll go get it for you." I figured it had only been half an hour and the lipstick would still be where she dropped it. I retraced our steps twice but couldn't find it, so I went to the nurse's station for help. "A lipstick?" "Yes. Sorry, we haven't seen it." I was about to leave when another nurse called out to me. "Hold on a second. Dr. Chen called earlier and said he'd found a lipstick. Why don't you go check with him?" It was almost the hospital's lunch break. I got directions to Dr. Chen's office and hurried over. I knocked twice. "Come in." Dr. Chen had his back to me and was tidying his desk. His dark, choppy hair shifted slightly. His silhouette was incredibly familiar. It was the guy I'd bumped into this morning. What a small world. I marveled silently, then my eyes locked onto the lost lipstick on his desk. "Dr. Chen, thank you for holding onto my lipstick for me." I greeted him. Dr. Chen turned around. This time, he wasn't wearing a mask. Rimless glasses sat on the bridge of his high nose, framing his deep-set eyes. That stunningly familiar face was right in front of me. Something tugged at my heart. My gaze fell to the ID badge clipped to his coat. It was really him. The world really is that small. The person whose name had been on my mind all day was suddenly standing right in front of me. But he was completely different from how I remembered him. Back then, our dean was strict, patrolling the stairwells every night during study hall. He'd bust girls whose skirts were above the knee, couples holding hands, and anyone with dyed hair, perfume, or makeup. So, the moment our college entrance exams were over, the long-repressed students underwent a massive transformation. Vicky immediately dyed his hair a fiery red. His newly pierced ear was adorned with metal jewelry. On anyone else, it might have been a disaster, but on Vicky, it just amplified his natural charisma. My most vivid memory of him was with that red hair. "What a coincidence," I said. It was definitely not a great conversation starter. The words were already out, so I racked my brain for something to add. "Do you remember me?" "Chloe Song. We were in the same class in high school." "Yeah," Vicky said, tilting his head slightly. "I remember." Normally, running into an old classmate would just be a quick, awkward hello before moving on. But today, I'd learned about what happened 10 years ago. I felt a little uneasy. I was about to make an excuse to leave when Vicky glanced at his watch. "It's my lunch break. Want to grab a bite to eat?" I froze. Honestly, a tiny part of me was tempted. But my pregnant friend at home hadn't eaten yet. I had promised I'd pick up her favorite spicy noodle soup on my way back. "No, thanks. I should get going." I quickly added, do you remember Jessica? She was our class president. She's trying to find a good time for everyone to get together for a 10-year reunion. We can all eat together then. Nothing was more important than Maya. Vicky walked downstairs with me. He followed me all the way to my car. I couldn't help but glance around. Is there anything good to eat around here? Yeah. Vicky looked toward a chain restaurant nearby. Their noodles are pretty good. I'd been to that place before. The food was just okay, but it was healthy. I guess in a doctor's eyes, that's the perfect combination of nutritious and delicious. Okay, well, see you. I fastened my seatbelt and started the car. Vicky was still standing on the sidewalk, as if he was going to watch me drive away. I rolled down my window and called out a little louder. Bye, Dr. Chin. Vicky didn't say bye. Instead, he asked me a strange question. Is he good to you? What? I thought the engine noise had made me mishear him. Nothing, Vicky said with a smile. Drive safe. I must have been mesmerized by Vicky's face. It wasn't until after I'd bought the spicy noodle soup that I realized I'd forgotten the lipstick. The moment Vicky turned around, the lipstick completely vanished from my mind. All I could think was, wow, Vicky is still so handsome. While Maya was eating, I confessed. It's fine. I'll just buy a new one later. And that Dr. Chin you mentioned, was that the guy you bumped into this morning? It was more than just that. I can't keep a secret to save my life, so I told her the whole story. Maya put down her chopsticks, a look of understanding on her face. I knew something was up. I put your favorite beef rolls right in front of you, and you didn't even touch them. Vicky, how did he end up becoming a doctor? I remember he wanted to be a race car driver. He was always getting into fights with kids from other schools, coming back all bruised up, and getting caught by the dean. In high school, Vicky was the poster child for rebellion. Few people dared to mess with him. Everyone knew that some guys just act tough, and some are all talk, but Vicky, he would actually fight like his life depended on it. During our semesterly fitness test, I was sitting on the sidelines, hugging my knees, watching everyone run the half mile. My turn was next. I hadn't even started running, but I could already taste blood in the back of my throat. For some reason, Vicky was late to class that day. He had a few fresh bruises on his face. He looked completely drained. Someone accidentally bumped into him, and Vicky instinctively protected one of his hands. My sharp eyes caught a trickle of blood sliding down his school uniform. As it reached the back of his hand, he casually wiped it on his dark uniform pants. I shot up from the ground. I practically ran right up to him. Are you hurt? Vicky stared at me, a flicker of irritation still in his eyes. He seemed stunned by my urgent gaze. After a long moment, he finally spoke. It's nothing. I immediately raised my hand. Teacher, someone's injured here. I'll take him to the nurse's office. I didn't care if his name was Vicky Chen or Chen Vicky. Anyone who got me out of the half mile was a good friend in my book. There was a long gash on Vicky's elbow. It wasn't deep, but it looked gruesome. I glanced at the clock in the nurse's office. Doctor, please be gentle, that looks like it hurts. Doctor, can you be a little lighter? Doctor, will the wound get infected? What should we do to take care of it afterward? I finally let out a sigh of relief when the bell rang, signaling the end of class. When I turned around, Vicky was looking at me. His gaze was direct, and he didn't flinch when our eyes met. I turned away and looked out the window. When I looked back, he was still watching me. Oh, okay, it's done. I stood up. I have to get back to class. In the end, I didn't escape the fitness test. The teacher gathered all the students who hadn't run and made us do it again. What are you thinking about? Maya asked, propping her chin on her hand. You still haven't told me. Are you going to Jessica's 10-year reunion or not? Jessica, ever the class president, was shockingly efficient. In no time, she had a date and a location set. She even managed to get our old homeroom teacher to come. A spreadsheet was going around the group chat for people to RSVP. I felt like it would be wrong to tell Vicky I'd see him at the reunion and then not show up. But I couldn't leave Maya. Her condition wasn't stable, and her late husband had gone to our high school, too. Going to a reunion would mean seeing old classmates and dredging up old memories. Maya definitely wasn't going. "Why are you looking at me like that?" she said with a laugh. "If you want to go, then go. Besides, my parents are here, and so are his." I was actually worried. Without me, who's going to push you out of your comfort zone? But it's fine now that Vicky will be there. I have a feeling he's still hung up on you. He definitely still likes you. This time, it was my turn to laugh. It's been 10 years. A lot can change in 10 years. The reunion was set for the following weekend. Figuring I might have a few drinks, I decided to take a cab to the hotel instead of driving. A lot of old classmates had flown in from other states. Some who were overseas and couldn't make it sent video messages. Over the years, I'd lost touch with most of my high school friends. My only close friend, Maya, wasn't here. I sat at a table on the edge of the room, my social anxiety kicking in. Jessica immediately pulled me from my seat and sat me next to her. "How is someone as gorgeous as you still single?" she whispered in my ear. "See that table over there? The guy in the black jacket? That's Mike Wong. Can you believe it? In high school, some adventure book series was really popular. There was a chubby guy in our class whose last name happened to be Wong. He gave himself a nickname from one of the characters, Fatty, and told everyone to call him that. All these years later, I'd forgotten his real name but still remembered the nickname. My eyes widened as I looked at the man with broad shoulders and a narrow waist. That's Mike. Talk about a glow up. He lost the weight and turned into a total heartthrob. Want me to drag him over here to say hi? I shook my head vigorously, declining Jessica's offer. By the time dinner was over, there were still a few empty seats. Someone had a last-minute work emergency, someone else's kid suddenly got a fever and had to go to the hospital. I scanned the room. Vicky wasn't here. Hospitals are busy. It was normal for him to have a last-minute emergency. Still, I felt a pang of disappointment. I guess not seeing him was the norm. It's not like people have that kind of amazing fate, to just keep running into each other over and over again. After dinner, everyone went out for karaoke. I'm a bit tone-deaf and can't carry a tune to save my life. But Maya always said I have a nice voice. I guess she's just biased. I managed to avoid singing for a while, but eventually, I was caught. As the melody for the next song started, Jessica shoved a microphone into my hand. "Don't tell me you don't know this one. I remember you singing it before." I had no choice but to stand up. It was a romantic duet. I looked around, planning to just sing both parts myself. On the other side of the room, Mike had also been cornered. A microphone was thrust into his hand. We made eye contact, a shared look of resignation in our eyes. I had just finished the female lead. The door suddenly swung open. Vicky walked in as if he'd timed his entrance to the beat. His face was so striking, so eye-catching. He was just wearing a simple overcoat, but on him, it looked different. Jessica called out to him. "Wow, look who it is." Dr. Chen finally decided to show up. In the flashing lights, I couldn't quite see his expression. But I had a feeling Vicky was smiling. He walked past me, went over to Mike, and took the microphone from his hand like it was a hot potato. "Sorry, something came up. I'm late." Vicky looked at the screen. "As an apology, I'll sing a song for everyone." And just like that, the duet ended up being between me and Vicky. I knew Vicky had a great voice. Back then, our school was so big the auditorium couldn't fit everyone. For events like the singing competition, each class only got a few tickets. That time, Maya and I were both lucky enough to get one. But as soon as it started, I wanted to leave. The sound system must have been messed up. The school band was painfully loud. It felt like someone was screaming directly into my ear. I was squirming in my seat but didn't dare cover my ears. After suffering through a few songs with Maya, I couldn't take it anymore and decided to slip out early. The next performance was Vicky's. I had no idea he was even in the competition. After all, Vicky didn't seem like the singing type. Especially not a soft, tender love song. I sat back down. The whole time, Maya kept pinching my arm. Why does Vicky keep looking over here? He's looking again. He's looking again. Did you see that? I didn't hear a word she said. I just stared, captivated, at Vicky on the stage. The moment our eyes met, a ridiculously cliché thought popped into my head. My heart skipped a beat. When the song ended, the room erupted in applause. Jessica waved for Vicky to come sit with us. He walked over naturally and sat down next to me. That was supposed to be Jessica's seat. I tried to tell him. This is Jess. Ahem. Jessica coughed loudly, then chose another empty seat, though her eyes were still glued to us. I knew what she was doing. She was shipping us. Even back in high school, her biggest joy during our stressful academic lives was shipping classmates. I guess some things never change. I don't know if it was the alcohol or the lingering emotion from the song, but I could feel my heart pounding. It felt like it was about to leap out of my chest. The people on the other side of me were talking about their kids' preschools. I couldn't join that conversation, so I turned to talk to Vicky. But every time I glanced over, I could see Jessica staring at us with a fiery intensity. Can't you be a little less obvious about your gossip-loving heart? We started talking about that day at the hospital. Oh, right. Vicky pulled the lipstick out of his pocket. Your lipstick. You left it behind again. The person next to us immediately turned her head. Why do you have her lipstick? It's Maya's, I explained. She dropped it at the hospital the other day. Oh yeah, how come Maya didn't come? I smiled. She's pregnant, so she's resting at home. But after I said that, Vicky's expression seemed to shift. I couldn't quite describe it. Maybe it was just the flashing lights of the karaoke room playing tricks on my eyes. After the party ended, I went to find an intersection to hail a cab. Most people had been drinking and had called for a designated driver or had family pick them up. It was a busy night for rideshares, and the app kept suggesting I pay extra. I wasn't in a hurry, so I decided to wait. A car slowly pulled up in front of me. The window rolled down, revealing Vicky's face. I'll give you a ride home. Well, if you insist. This was the first time I'd ever sat in the passenger seat of another guy's car. I cautiously fastened my seatbelt and then double-checked it. Noticing my actions, Vicky's lips curved into a smile. He joked, "What, you don't trust me? Well, you used to be a race car driver. If you decide to speed, I need to be prepared." Actually, this wasn't my first time in a vehicle with Vicky. The last time, I was on the back of his bicycle. I had been a good girl for over 20 years, and my one act of rebellion was in high school. My favorite band, who I had loved for years, was coming to the country for a tour. I tried forever to get tickets, even looked up scalpers, and finally managed to snag one. I was all set to go. But, of course, the school scheduled mock exams that day and added an evening study hall. My request for leave was denied by my homeroom teacher. So I just decided to skip study hall altogether. If the teacher asked, Maya would cover for me. As it got dark, I followed the school's lampposts to the perimeter wall. Staring at the wall, which was taller than me, I hesitated. But the concert was about to start. I don't know where I got the strength, but I scrambled over. 10 minutes left. Clumsily climbing the wall had taken too long, and the concert venue was at least a mile away. I gritted my teeth, ready to sprint for it. Chloe. I turned around. Under a lamppost, Vicky was standing there. He never went to evening study hall. It was a rare event if he even showed up in the classroom. Getting caught by him was embarrassing. Don't tell anyone. Only a few people knew, and I had sworn them all to secrecy. Vicky was an unexpected variable. I won't tell, but you have to tell me what you're skipping class for. There was no point in lying since I'd been caught red-handed, so I told him the truth. After listening, Vicky nodded in understanding. He gestured with his chin. That's my bike. You can borrow it. Don't miss the opening. He was actually a nice guy. I hesitated. But I don't know how to ride a bike. My answer left Vicky speechless. I didn't wait around, quickly starting to jog down the road. Suddenly, I heard the sound of a bicycle bell behind me. Vicky hit the brakes, stopping right beside me. He said simply, "Get on." I kind of regretted it. Because Vicky rode way too fast. I'd never been on the back of someone's bike before, only seen it in movies. The romantic leads would sit together on a single bicycle, riding past ponds and willow trees, full of youthful bliss. It wasn't like this, with me clinging desperately to the seat, my body involuntarily leaning back. Vicky must have spent too much time on the racetrack. You're not supposed to ride a bicycle like this. Slow down. Slow down, I'm going to fall off. Over the wind, I heard Vicky say, "Aren't you going to be late? Grab onto me." I grabbed the back of Vicky's shirt. Then I realized that wasn't working, I was just pulling his shirt out of shape. Without hesitating, I wrapped my arms around his waist. Vicky seemed to stiffen for a second. Don't worry. I'm being a perfect gentleman, I swear. When the bike stopped at the venue, there were 2 minutes until the show started. I jumped off Vicky's bike, feeling like the wind that night was a little too warm, making my face flush. Thanks. I didn't dare say another word and hurried inside. When the concert was over, I followed the crowd out and immediately spotted Vicky by the flower beds. He was leaning against his bike, still there. "Why are you still here?" I asked, running over. At the same time, an improper thought crossed my mind. Was it possible that Vicky was waiting for me? Well, I was already here. Vicky lowered his gaze. The sound system is pretty good. You could hear everything clearly from outside. Let's just say I got a free concert. He pointed to the small poster in my hand. That's your favorite band? The group I liked had all sorts of hair colors and a collection of ear and eyebrow piercings. They looked really cool. Yeah. If you wanted to talk about my favorite band, I could go on all day. On the way back, I talked about them non-stop. The bike stopped at the school wall. Go on, Vicky said. The dorms are about to close. I kept looking back at him as I walked away. Vicky was still standing under the lamppost, waving at me, as if urging me to hurry. The Vicky of 10 years later was different. He drove very steadily. Almost slowly, as if to accommodate me. Do you still race? Yeah, on my days off. It's a way to relax. Whenever I turned my head, I could see the faint marks from Vicky's piercings. They say if you don't wear earrings for a long time, the holes will eventually close up. I remember you used to have red hair and piercings. You looked so cool. Don't you like dyeing your hair anymore? Vicky nodded thoughtfully. You have to look trustworthy for your patients, right? I don't actually believe that one little lie I told 10 years ago could have made Vicky completely change his plans and become a doctor. Senior year, Vicky started coming to evening study hall. His academic foundation was decent, but after slacking off for 2 years, it was hard for him to catch up. Every time I went to talk to Maya after class, would see him with his head buried in his books. I heard that when he filled out his college application, Vicky wrote down Columbia. The same school as me. I missed Columbia by 3 points, Vicky said, adjusting his glasses. I ended up at the University of Chicago, but later, I did my master's at Columbia. The distance between Columbia and UChicago is about 800 miles. I thought about grad school too, but I never went through with it. Otherwise, we might have seen each other back then. I briefly imagined running into Vicky on the Columbia campus. What made you decide to go into medicine? It's the one decision I'll never regret. The flickering lights from outside passed over Vicky's face. During my sophomore year, something happened with my family. I took a year off from school to take care of them. I'm glad I had learned a little by then, enough to help. During that time, I often felt like I couldn't go on. My mom was rarely lucid, but whenever she was, she would cry and beg me to pull out her breathing tube. She felt like she had become a burden to our family, a burden to me. I kept telling her to just hold on a little longer. I was lying to her. I had already borrowed money from every relative we had. I stayed by her side during the day, hired a caregiver for the night, and worked odd jobs to make money. I was running on empty for days. The moment I fainted on the side of the road, I wanted to give up. But when I opened my eyes, I knew I had to keep going. No matter what, I couldn't give up on my mom. Vicky let out a small, self-deprecating laugh. I almost did something I shouldn't have. My heart skipped a beat. You made it through the hardest part, I said seriously. The car stopped in front of my apartment building. I unbuckled my seatbelt and had already said goodbye. But after a few steps, I turned back. I tapped on the car window. Your mom would be so happy to see you now. Vicky looked into my eyes, which were swirling with an emotion I couldn't decipher. Yeah, she is. I turned to leave, satisfied. Then I heard him say from behind me, I went to see you back then. I never knew that. When Vicky came to see me, he never told me. The Columbia campus was open to visitors, but you had to book a spot in advance or be brought in by a student. The campus was huge. It would have been hard to run into each other. I got there just as your class was letting out. You were holding your books and petting a stray cat on the side of the road. There were so many cats on campus, but my favorite was a little orange and white one named Pumpkin. He was the friendliest and would let you pet and hold him if you gave him some food. That was probably just another ordinary day for me in college. One I wouldn't even remember. But for Vicky, it was an extraordinary day. Despite the huge campus, he was lucky enough to see me. Even though I never turned around, even though he never said a word to me. You were living your life so earnestly. It made me feel like maybe I could hold on a little longer too. The warmth in Vicky's eyes seared me. In that moment, I understood. And then, I started to panic. I quickly said goodbye again and hurried into the stairwell. Vicky liked me. Vicky still liked me. After all these years, Vicky still liked me. Without my knowledge, I had become the reason someone else found the strength to keep going. I splashed some water on my face to cool down. I remembered I hadn't replied to Maya's texts. She was dying to know if I had seen Vicky and what we had talked about. My mind was a mess anyway, and I needed her help to sort things out. I also had 2 new messages. I opened them. They were from Vicky. We had added each other as contacts since we were high school classmates. There were so many silent contacts on my list that I had forgotten about it. Vicky, do you want to come see Pumpkin? Vicky, image attached. That little orange cat, Vicky had adopted him? I took a deep breath to calm my racing heart. Yes. It's been 10 years. 10 years. I paced back and forth in Maya's living room. How many decades does a person even get in a lifetime? Maya started counting on her fingers. 4 years of college, 3 years of grad school, plus he took a year off to take care of his family. Med school is crazy busy, and residency must have been exhausting. The Dr. Chin you see now is the result of that long, hard journey. I leaned over the couch, cornering her. Why didn't you tell me before that Vicky was going to ask me out at the graduation party? Because you told me, with absolute certainty, that your type was the exact opposite of Vicky. You were so convincing, I didn't realize you were lying through your teeth. Now, go. Maya made a grand after you gesture. It's not too late. Didn't Dr. Chin invite you to see the cat? Don't be late. Pumpkin was a cat who had seen the world. He wasn't afraid of the students and professors constantly coming and going on campus, and he wasn't scared of being brought downstairs now. He just sniffed around curiously. Pumpkin. I held out my hand, letting him sniff the back of it first. Vicky had taken good care of him. He had even gotten a little chubbier. He affectionately rubbed his head against my hand. I looked up in surprise. He actually remembers me. Vicky tilted his head and smiled at me. When he wasn't working, Dr. Chin dressed very casually. The cuffs of his shirt were rolled up, revealing a small mole on his left wrist. I held Pumpkin and sneaked a few more glances at him. The next second, a ticket appeared in front of me. A concert? After all these years, I still loved the same band. They had gotten more and more popular, making every ticket sale a battle of bots and speed. I had missed out a few times and was just complaining to Maya about scalpers the other day. Yeah. There was a smile in Vicky's eyes as he asked, "Could I ask you to go with me?" We were adults. We both knew what this meant. It was an invitation for a date. Vicky knew me too well. He knew that if I was going to reject him after his confession the other night, I wouldn't have come to see Pumpkin. And if I did come to see Pumpkin, he would find a way to see me a second time. Do you like their music too? Or was it because he remembered from that night 10 years ago? I've been to every one of their tours for the past few years, Vicky said. I always thought that among the thousands of people at the concert, you would be there too. The concert tickets sat on my nightstand. Every time I rolled over, I could see it. And every time I saw it, I would smile. It was seriously affecting my sleep. Finally, I tucked it away in a drawer. I had just closed my eyes when my phone rang. It was the special ringtone I had set for Maya. Her parents were getting older, and I didn't want them to worry. It was better for her to call me if something was wrong. On the other end of the line, Maya's voice was weak. She had fallen on her way to the bathroom during the night and was bleeding. Hearing this, I shot up in bed. I didn't even bother to change out of my pajamas as I rushed downstairs to get a cab. Don't panic, she said. I was on the verge of tears, but on her end, Maya was actually laughing. I've already called an ambulance. Chloe, I'm just a little scared. Scared of being alone. By the time I arrived, the ambulance was just pulling up. Maya had passed out. It wasn't just a little blood, there was a pool of it on the floor. My legs were trembling. I don't know how I managed to follow the ambulance to the hospital and sit outside the emergency room. My phone rang. Chloe, are you at the hospital? My colleague on the night shift said he thought he saw you. My voice was shaking, and my words came out in broken pieces. Stay calm, Vicky's voice was steady. I'm on my way. Vicky arrived quickly. Your friend is going to be okay. He knelt in front of me, holding a small pack of wet wipes. Here, wipe your face. It was only then that I realized what a mess I was. My hair was disheveled, and my face was streaked with tears. Not only was I in my pajamas, but I had also lost one of my slippers. I had scraped my arm somewhere, leaving a long, bloody scratch. I clutched the pack of wipes like a lifeline. When Vicky came back, he had a small blanket and a new pair of slippers for me. He handed me a bottle of warm milk and started cleaning the cut on my arm. A lump formed in my throat. Forgetting my injury, I threw my arms around him. Slowly, Vicky hugged me back. She's going to be okay, she's going to be okay. That's right. Vicky's embrace was warm, his voice firm. She's going to be okay. Thankfully, it was a false alarm. Maya and the baby were both fine. She just had to stay in the hospital for a while for observation. Her parents stayed to take care of her, and her in-laws came every day to bring her food. Vicky came with me to visit her. Maya was in much better spirits. Her eyes darted around, a mischievous glint in them. She was preparing to interrogate Vicky and had already warned me not to be biased. Just then, my mom called. She said she'd booked a restaurant and wanted to have dinner with me. Dinner with me? Mom, since when are you so formal? On the other end, my mom's voice was loud and clear. I've set you up on so many blind dates, and you've turned them all down. This time, I've already made the arrangements. I'm sending you the restaurant address. You have to go, whether you want to or not. She hung up. When I tried calling back, it went straight to voicemail. I sent her a text, but it was immediately blocked. Great. I'd forgotten to tell her about Vicky. When I looked up, everyone was staring at me. Maya nearly dropped her apple. You're going on a blind date? My relationship with Vicky was. You could say we liked each other, but we weren't officially boyfriend and girlfriend yet. Although, in my heart, I already considered him my boyfriend. Going on a blind date in front of him, with him driving me there. It felt wrong. I wanted to explain, but the atmosphere in the car was so strange that I couldn't get the words out. Is this the restaurant? The car stopped. Vicky's voice was calm, betraying no emotion. It felt like the calm before a storm. I looked out the window. I think so. I unbuckled my seatbelt and got out of the car. Every movement was slow, my heart in turmoil. Why isn't he stopping me? Does Vicky actually want me to go on this blind date? I took a few small steps forward. I really wanted to look back, but I resisted the urge. That coward. He'd liked me in secret for so many years, not even daring to appear in front of me. It was like just being in the same place as me, exchanging a few words, was enough for him. Vicky, couldn't you be a little greedier? Just a little. Just as I had that thought, I heard urgent footsteps behind me. Before I could turn around, I was pulled into a tight hug. I'm sorry. Vicky held me tightly. It felt like he was trying to merge me into his very bones. Let me be selfish this one time. I can't drive the person I like to a date with someone else. I can't do it. Vicky held me for a long, long time, until he heard me call his name. Vicky. He slowly loosened his grip. I turned around. Say it again. What you just said. Say it again. I can't drive the person I like to a date with someone else. I cupped his face in my hands and looked into his eyes. Is this a confession? I had heard so many confessions before. Under the dorm windows, on the athletic field, but none of them had ever made my heart race like this, made me so eager to say yes. I like you. Vicky looked into my eyes, and they seemed to shimmer with unshed tears. I like you too, I said, enunciating each word. Then you're my boyfriend now. My mom had not only booked a restaurant, but she had also bought movie tickets, determined to ensure my blind date, and I had a wonderful day. I explained the situation to the man I was supposed to meet. As I walked out of the restaurant, I took Vicky's hand. All right, boyfriend, we can't let my mom's movie tickets go to waste. Let's go. We're going on a date. I had always hoped for someone. Someone who could read my subtle hints, understand my unspoken words, and see through my little lies. Now, I've found him.